the Jack Hammer Executive Report, and that was released late last year. And what the report told us is that the proportion of CEOs who are black South Africans has actually fallen from 15% in 2012 to 10% in 2015. We're going to test whether these numbers still hold ground. The BMF over the past 40 years has kept corporate South Africa's transformation record in check by advocating for the appointment of black professionals. To get into this conversation is the president of the Black Management Forum. His name is Mcane Mthunzi, and he joins us now. Mcane, thank you for making the time to join us. In the news this week, the appointment of Ciko Thomas at Nedbank, certainly something that I'm sure that you're applauding within the Black Management Forum, but is it enough?
Well, let's not take the limelight. I think Ciko has done very well. We congratulate him for his achievements at a personal level. But also it's important to congratulate Nedbank for unlocking opportunities for the creation of black leadership talent and recognizing that talent, because sometimes we have talented individuals and they're never recognized. And so we appreciate what they have done, and we hope that more companies will learn from what Nedbank has done and do the same. It's not enough when you look at the representations of black executives at that level, particularly in top 40 JSE listed companies. But nevertheless, it's a good progress that they have done at Nedbank.
Yeah, another triumph for the SA Breweries production line, because he used to be an executive there before he went into banking. So that's an interesting. These companies must help each other. They need to export their good executives as well as keep them. But I wanted to ask you to come back to the issue of what the problem is. I mean, a guy like that, he's clearly qualified for the job. Nedbank have appointed him. I don't know how long they spent grooming him for it, because you should always groom executives for jobs. Why aren't more black executives being appointed? Is someone being difficult about this? What is the problem?
I think it's a combination of things. As the BMF, we think that inherently it's a lack of responsibilities that directors should be taking when it comes to succession planning. So you find that they are caught off guard, as if they never knew that they need to prepare for these roles in time. And hence we see nowadays, we read about joint CEOs being appointed. You can tell that it's a compromised outcome in terms of what it is. So directors are not taking their responsibilities serious as far as succession planning is concerned. But also there's an inherent institutional racism within these corporates in terms of not being comfortable about advancing the careers of
even though they're under pressure
CEOs.
to appoint.
They would find whatever excuse or reason to delay, to defer, and not to make sure that they make the right appointments. Because oftentimes we see these CEOs jumping ship, going to other companies, and they become successful in those companies. So it's a clear indication that they've always been ready. And majority of people, particularly black professionals, they know that they have been earmarked for greater things within companies that they work for the day they resign. And then we hear all sorts of stories, how companies love us and all these other plans they had for us, but nobody has ever told us that.
Mcane, there's also been, I think, BMF putting something in the media a couple of weeks ago saying that we're worried about the reversal in transformation. And in particular, two of the companies that come to mind is KPMG, another one is First Rand, where the issue that was flagged is that a black CEO was replaced by a white CEO. At what point, I mean, give us a sense of your thinking around this, and should we not be working towards a point where it doesn't really matter what color you are, if you're the best man for the job or woman for the job, that's who you should be?
Yeah, that is a fallacy. It doesn't exist. There's never best man or best woman for the job, best any person for any job. People come to these positions, they are inadequate, they have some gaps, but there's a commitment from companies to make sure that they close those gaps and people can perform until they get to those type of levels. Just before I come directly to answer the question, one, we worried as the BMF that the Nelson Mandela dream of having a unified nation, the project of having a South Africa that is inclusive, a rainbow nation of Archbishop Tutu, it's not happening. And we're seeing people doing whatever they could to make sure that does not happen. That's the first point that we're worried about. And the second point is that we behave like we are a country somewhere in Europe, or not even in Europe, because European countries, if you go to England, to France, to Italy, the English, the French, and the Italians are running those companies. And in this continent, what we want South Africa to reflect is to reflect how the leadership and talent you see when you go to Kenya, to Ghana and Nigeria. The Kenyans, the Ghanaians and Nigerians are in charge of their country. That the highest high-rising building you could find, you'll find that it is led by a Kenyan if it's in Kenya, okay, a Nigerian if it's in Nigeria. But when you want the same to happen in South Africa, people are frowning. It's as if we don't know what we're talking about.
But
and then we are told that we not have skills and sorts of excuses, as if other people are born with skills. No one is born with skills, but it's a concerted effort to make sure that people are ready to take leadership when the moment arises.
Leadership can be taught. It's not something you inherit. It can be taught, and they need to teach it to more people to reflect. But you're talking nationalities, not nationality. In South Africa, it's race. I'm South African, you South African, but I'm not black. It's a racial thing, and it's a product of our past. I wanted to ask you the Black Industrialist project, the 100 Black Industrialists, which is very ambitious. How do you see that changing things, if at all?
As the BMF, we're supportive of it. And what needs to happen, the thinking has to shift from unlocking the route to market or access to capital for these enterprises. We've been talking about that for ages. That really needs to change. It has to be a game changer. And by that, it means that government must be fully behind these individuals. And these individuals must be able to have this market. We should, in fact, take it for granted that the market is there. And we also take it for granted that they'll have access to capital in terms of making sure that it happens. But in our view, we should pick up people that have expertise within those industries to be able to do that. It has to be something of a owner-operator type of a model. I think the days of having equity, or black people having equity into white businesses are over, and being passive. You need to be involved, you need to roll up your sleeves and be able to add value to those companies.
How much power and influence does the Black Management Forum have? I go back to my previous question where you've spoken against the reversal of black CEOs being replaced by white CEOs. You've even put out a list of companies that you're watching to say, we want to see black CEOs being appointed here, Tiger Brands being one of them. Yeah. How much power do you have to make sure or exert influence for those appointments?
So I'm glad you're raising those points. Just to clarify, other people were confused saying why we're naming other companies.
And not others.
Correct. We were naming them precisely because they're in the process of succession planning in terms of finding CEOs. And we're saying that given the reduction of representation of black CEOs in particularly JSE-listed companies, but in many companies, we would like you to make sure that you consider having black CEOs. So we are a lobby group. We send them a letter, other than the media statement that you have seen, to say that please, let's engage, let's help you find these black people. If you can't find them for or whatever reasons that you may have, we are willing to be part of the solution. But I think the BMF needs now to do something that is drastic, and I think we need to take some of them to court for these things, for not complying to the laws of this country, for denying other people's opportunities as far as that is concerned. And it's not an empty threat, by the way. I've met the lawyers. We are engaging all these things. We are observing what needs to happen. We need to take at least one, and then I think the message will be sent through.
How long is it going to take if the things that you want to happen do happen? It still won't be overnight. How long is it going to take before we don't need a Black Management Forum, because that's management?
Correct. In fact, we would like for the Black Management Forum to be redundant, but it can only be redundant when corporate South Africa, or let's say all the management structures, reflect how a South African society looks like. And the moment that happens, then there won't be a need for the Black Man. And I agree with you. We need to to make sure that Black Management Forum becomes redundant.
But how long till we get there?
I don't know how long. It depends on how long those who are having levers to power and influence are willing to accommodate Black people and women into leadership structures of these companies. They are the ones who need to answer.
What are you going to do about joint CEOs?
We're going to take some of them to court. And be able to them. Okay, but out of respect, we have agreed that we will engage with them. There's a meeting pending with us and Sasol, for example, and we are going to engage and try to understand what is their rationale. I can't understand that a board of directors would fail to come up with a credible list of successors, one. And secondly, these joint CEOs are costly exercises, okay? For example, Standard Bank has this arrangement. They've paid their CEOs 24 million and 19 million respectively, okay? They could have managed to pay one person 20 million and that's it. And so it's a costly exercise. Why do directors not take care, duty and responsibility in terms of protecting companies? They need to tell us that. And also with that, it always happens when Black executives are supposed to take charge. It never happens the other way around. It's like we are not ready to lead. We need babysitters to be able to take care of us. Or we are not trusted that will make the right decisions.
And however good they are, who's in charge? You don't know.
Absolutely, and I think we've had a fantastic conversation. A very big thank you to the president of the Black Management Forum.